right, welcome to the Stress Management Cat Chat. I'm not sure how many people are zooming in, so if you are digital, hello, welcome as well. My name is Paige Humphrey. I am a certified peer educator for counseling services and through Peer Advocates for Mental Wellness and Success, as is listed on the front of the PowerPoint. Aha, there we go. All right, to begin, we have a stress scale activity. So if you're zooming in, you will not be able to access this because I have it in paper copy. But the idea of the stress scale activity, I'm going to walk off screen for a second. So the stress scale activity lists a number of different events that a student might go through during the course of their college career. So it starts with death of a close family member, death of a close friend, divorce between parents, jail term, major personal injury or illness, and the list goes on. Each event has a different point value, and what you would do with this is you check off all the things that you are going through or have gone through. You total up that number of the units that are assigned to each event, and then that total indicates roughly how stressed you are. So I'm going to hand this out to our audience members who are in person. Yeah, welcome. Here. I also have this activity. All right, so we'll just give a minute for everyone to get through this activity. All right, are we in the audience? How are we doing on the activity? Getting there? Give it another minute, and then if you don't quite finish it's something that you can easily finish up after the presentation ends or at home. All right, so if we're not quite done yet, I'm just going to ask you to wrap it up for the time being, and then at the end of the presentation, you'll have time to just maybe make your tallies or finish going through the list, just so we can continue with the presentation. So the stress scale, it might illuminate some things for you, maybe make you realize certain things might be stressing you out that you don't realize. This stress scale does include positive sources of stress, which is something we don't always consider. So sometimes starting a new relationship is a good thing for us, but that can also add stress to our lives, even though we don't realize that. So just take some time, maybe after the presentation, to reflect on this, or maybe you feel like, I'm really stressed out, but this score doesn't reflect that. So, let it be whatever it is. Learn something, hopefully. Awesome. So we're going to talk about what stress is. A lot of times when we hear the word stress, we think one thing, and we think it's bad, it's disorganized, it's the thing that makes us have a hard time in school or in life. And I'm trying to stay by the mic. This is hard for me. I'm a very mobile presenter. But our stress curve shows three different phases that we can be in regarding stress. So stress can be defined in two ways: as eustress, which is positive stress or motivating stress. So having assignments to do or having obligations can be a good thing because it keeps you going, it keeps you productive. And that's in this orange-yellow zone. That's the eustress. It's a little bit unclear, but you might be able to see under the graph in our second section, the yellow section, it says optimum stress. So that's our positive eustress, or optimum performance zone. And then as you slide off to the right, it turns red. And that's where it becomes distress. And that's what we all typically think of as stress, or when we talk about stress management. And that's when there's too much. Oh, okay. I'll also bring it closer to me. Okay, so as you move to the right, you get into that distress area. This is where, as it says, anxiety, panic, anger, you start to break down, you feel like you're going to fall apart, you might burn out, you become exhausted, and that's not good. We don't want that. But if you look all the way back here on the left side of the curve, it is too little stress. So that's that area where you're not really motivated because you don't have enough going on, and that's something that I think a lot of people maybe aren't familiar with or don't understand that is also possible when it comes to stress. So with that familiarity of eustress and distress, we're going to keep talking obviously about distress because that's the type of stress that we want to learn to manage. And we have a little video about how people respond to stress. Oh, nope, that didn't work. Previous. How do I get it to play? Well, I can talk about fight, flight, or freeze because I know about them. So unfortunately, our little video isn't working, but we've got 3 different general categories of response. So has anyone heard of fight, flight, or freeze, or at least of fight or flight in the audience? Yeah. Good. Are there any that you haven't heard of, or are they all 3 familiar? Freeze, you haven't heard of freeze? Yeah, that's the most common that people haven't heard of. So if you are zooming in, our audience responded that they have not heard of freeze. So fight is kind of obvious, kind of self-explanatory. When you're in a stressful situation, you want to fight. So our little video has a little caveman and a little tiger, because it points out the fact that humans evolved to have this stress response as a way of saving their lives. So if you're facing a tiger, one of your responses might be to fight the tiger, to cut the threat out at the source, just get rid of it, tackle it head on. The other response you might have to save your life would be to flee. in which case you would just run away or hide from the tiger. In both cases, your heart rate goes up, your blood kind of moves to the large muscles in your body, your breathing rate will go up, pupils will dilate, all of that to prepare you to either run away or fight. But then that third reaction, freeze, it is exactly as it sounds. The body just kind of stops because your brain is thinking about all of the possible options that you could do. I could fight, I could run away, I could do all these number of things, and your brain is occupying all of that energy, all of that space, so your body can't actually do anything. And this happens a lot with people when we get into stressed out situations, especially when it comes to academics or work. That's definitely a common response that people aren't always familiar with. So if you feel like when you're stressed out, you are a person who typically freezes, that's a normal reaction. That's not something that's abnormal or impossible to manage. And we have another stress response activity that I'm going to hand out to our audience members. All right, for those of you who are zooming in, this is a personal stress response activity, and there's another checklist that begins with, after a stressful situation, and there are a number of different options. So just to read off of the list: experience headaches regularly, feel tightness in my back and or shoulders, feel a tightness in my chest and or find myself short of breath. And the list goes on to different responses that people may or may not have when they feel stressed out, physically or emotionally, behaviorally, etc. All right, audience, how are we doing on the activity? We all set? Still working on it? Ready to move on? All right. So you may have realized that there's a number of different types of responses on here. Some of them are physical, like feeling a tightness in your chest. Some of them might be more emotional, feeling anxious, feeling sad. So we're going to go through these different categories, different ways that people respond to stress, or ways to identify that you are feeling stressed. The first category, mental. Some of the common mental reactions to stress. I don't like not being able to look back. It's okay. Loss of motivation is number one. I'm sure most of us have experienced that when you're really stressed out with all of your work for school. You're just like, I don't want to do any of it anymore. I don't care anymore. Self-criticism, talking to yourself like, I'm so bad. I am not worth being a student at this school. Something along those lines where you are really harsh with yourself for, falling into stress, you maybe make it seem like it's your own fault for getting there. Difficulty making decisions is a really common mental fogginess that comes along with being stressed. Think about the fact that your blood is moving to all these different parts of your body that are not your brain. And so you are not going to be able to think very clearly, and it's going to be hard, especially if you're making important decisions regarding your academics or your career or your future in general. And lowered sense of self-esteem, that kind of goes along with the self-criticism, but it can be really easy to judge yourself and be harsh with yourself and not really feel as confident when you're under a lot of pressure. Are there any other mental stress responses that anyone has that they are comfortable sharing or note in themselves or their friends from the audience? That's okay if not. We covered the big ones, and they're on this sheet. So if you have other ones that you know for yourself, other mental reactions that you have where you can be like, I might be stressed because I'm thinking this certain way, or I'm thinking a certain thing, then that's good to just be able to identify that. Physically, like we talked about, your body undergoes a physical reaction when you become stressed, and that plays out in a number of ways. So disturbed sleep can refer to either sleeping too much or sleeping too little. For some people, when they're stressed out, they could sleep upwards of 10, 12 hours and just not even feel rested. They just want to sleep more. Or some people can't sleep at all. They just, no matter what they do, they're awake. Headaches can happen. It can present in a number of different ways. If you have a headache, it can be in the front of the head or the back of the head. It doesn't really make a difference if you have a headache. It could be stress. It might not just be dehydration or something else. Fatigue can go along with the disturbed sleep. Like I said, someone could be sleeping more than their normal amount and still feel tired. Or if you're not sleeping, that would obviously make you then feel fatigued, and your body is working really hard and not doing a whole lot. So it's wasting a lot of energy. Weight change, again, that's similarly with the sleep, it's coming off of a baseline. So weight change might be gaining a lot of weight. Weight change might be also losing a lot of weight in a short period of time. Losing a certain or gaining a certain amount of weight in a time that we wouldn't expect typically to be healthy. Muscle tension, a lot of us probably have felt that tension behind our shoulders and in our neck. As we get stressed out, the shoulders just kind of creep up towards the ears, or we could have tension in the back or the legs. It might happen anywhere. And you become more susceptible to illness. Again, your body's working really hard physiologically when you're stressed, so there's not a lot of energy left for your immune system to protect you. Does anyone have any other physical ailments that they want to share? All right. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Sometimes when I get stressed out, I'm, like it says, more susceptible to illness. Just a couple weeks ago, I got sick, and it was beautiful outside, and it was because I was stressed out.
Yep, absolutely. Especially we had the flu and whatever other viruses going around campus. So you're more susceptible, we're at higher risk for having so many people who are sick around us. But yeah, being stressed does not help you stay in your little healthy bubble. Behaviorally, we will see some changes as well. So you might want to be making more impulsive decisions or risky decisions. It might be easier to want to binge drink, for example, or kind of just roll the dice in general with certain things in life that you might not normally be so reckless about in your day-to-day life, when you can think a little more clearly or when you're feeling less stressed. Social withdrawal is common. A lot of people just kind of sink into their space, whether it's their apartment or their dorm. A lot of times people don't want to go out, not even go out to the bars or anything like that, but just be with friends. People don't always remember to take care of their social wellness when they're stressed out. And then that has a compounding negative effect. It's kind of like a negative spiral. The more you pull away from people, the more stressed you might become, et cetera, et cetera. Doing more but getting less actually done. I think that really, for me, sums up how I feel when I'm stressed out. I feel like I'm running on a treadmill and I'm working really hard, but I'm just not going anywhere. And that is really common for people when we become stressed out. And then conflict with others. We become really irritable a lot of times when we're stressed. Think about it can be really easy to be short with someone when you might not otherwise be. And that can lead to conflicts, whether that's with your friends or with your professors or really anyone. And that, again, can just cause more problems in the long run. And emotionally, just mentioned, you can become irritable when you're stressed out. So you might not have patience for people when you normally would. Mood swings, you might go from being totally fine and then all of a sudden that changes and you're mad or you're sad or you're whatever else, and it just kind of seems like it's changing at the drop of a hat for no apparent reason. Sadness, you start to feel really heavy, really slow when you're stressed out because it just seems like there's too much going on. Or you might feel this increased anxiety, like almost a shakiness in your body where you feel like, that that's the best way I can describe it. Where you really can't seem to focus or can't seem to you don't feel like you can necessarily pull yourself together and get everything done that you need to. And then worry. Probably the most common, you worry about how am I going to get this all done? How is this going to affect me if I don't get this all done? Your brain might be going 1,000,000 miles an hour worrying about all sorts of scenarios that are probably not reasonable or likely to happen. And then that distracts you from really getting the tasks done that you are trying to accomplish. So we have some facts about coping with stress because I think there are a lot of myths about how we deal with stress. Some of these might seem more obvious than others. The first fact is that if you try to ignore stress, it is not going to go away. You can't just be like, I'm stressed, but it'll be fine in a week, because it won't. You need to address it head on. You need to do something about it, make some changes in your life. And that is the way that we manage stress and cope with stress rather than just pretending like it's not happening. The second fact, stress is not the same for everyone. So we just talked about the different mental, behavioral, emotional, and physical responses that people have to stress. And if you were to, I'm not going to ask you to because it's personal, but if you wanted to compare your personal stress response with someone else's, you would notice that you probably have all checked off different things. Some would be the same, some would be different, but it's just good to be aware that if you're stressed out and for you that presents as irritability and headaches, but for your friend that presents as something completely differently, it doesn't mean that one of you isn't stressed or that one of you is more stressed than the other. A lot of times we like to make it a competition, like, I've got 3 exams and a paper, well, I have a presentation. We're all under a lot of stress. And it's just going to show up differently for different people. So be patient and kind with yourself about that and with other people that you are around. Stress can be managed. Yay, that's why we have this talk today. It seems sometimes like there's no way to manage all of this stress as a student. It seems like every semester, at the beginning of the semester, like, I'm prepared, I can handle this. And then somehow, every semester, around this time, we're like, uh-oh, what happened? I'm really stressed again, and I don't know what to do. But we can put different practices in place in our lives, either at those times of lower stress or even some immediate stress responses, which we'll talk about this, or stress management techniques, You can make these changes or do these little different things that will help you in the long run, both now and later. The fourth fact, you can be stressed without showing signs. So you might be feeling a lot of stress, but you might not have the headaches or the muscle tension or the sleep disturbances, but you can still be affected by stress, which is something that may not seem intuitive if you're one of those people who gets seriously affected both, mentally, physically, emotionally, whatever it may be. And the last fact, it is helpful to manage symptoms of stress before they become major, which sounds simple, but obviously it's not always as easy to do as it is to say. But so like right now at this point in the semester where we're getting nearer to spring break, getting nearer to that midway point, it might already be at that point where we're needing to do some of these more immediate stress relief techniques. But maybe starting in the next semester or over the summer, whenever your stress is mellowing out, you can start to put new things in place so that way the next time around, things might not be as bad. You can be a little bit more prepared. So different ways to manage stress. Our first little sloth, who's so cute, has a little tagline under it, "Let me hug you." So connecting with people is a really important way to relieve stress. As we talked about, it can be easy to withdraw socially from your friends or from different social organizations you may be a part of. And that is not going to help with stress. So if you just talk with a friend, sometimes just venting is good. Sometimes actual physical connection, being able to hug someone. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say hug everyone that you talk to because you probably don't have that relationship with everyone. But if you do have someone that's close and you can have that physical contact, sometimes that's nice. But also just being able to hang out with people, being able to laugh, being able to talk about your problems honestly and openly can be really nice. Our little penguin-looking guy, maybe a puffin, I'm not totally sure. I should know. I'm a biology major, but it doesn't matter. He says, don't stress. Take it one step at a time. So a lot of times we get really overwhelmed because it's like, I have a 10-page paper, and I have a big final presentation, and I have all these things. And that seems impossible. That's just like standing here and saying, yeah, I'm going to climb a mountain tomorrow. I mean, that's a lot of work. There's a lot of preparation and a lot of energy that goes into that. But when we can break things down into more manageable chunks, all of a sudden that feeling that I'm taking on an impossible task, it dissipates. When you say maybe, all right, I have a long paper. This week, I'll work on an outline. Next week, I'll work on a rough draft. And then the week after, I can put the whole paper together. Or sometimes that happens over the course of 3 days or shorter because we tend to procrastinate. But just even when you don't feel like you have a lot of time, still breaking up your workloads into smaller pieces makes it all feel more manageable and hopefully takes away some of that tightness in the chest or that feeling like, oh no, I'm never going to make it. Yes, you are. You will make it. And then we have our cute little kitty all the way on the right, because petting animals is a wonderful stress relief. If you're not an animal person, then you can leave this one at the door. But if you have pets, or if your friends or local family have pets, just being able to spend time with them, it does wonders. Whether you're a cat person, dog person, goat person, whatever you like. Lucky for K-State students, if you like dogs, we have an event called Pet Away Stress that happens twice a semester. So the Pet Away Stress, the first one this semester, will be coming up on March 14th. It's the Wednesday before spring break, and we'll be out here on the quad just outside these windows with dogs that you can just pet between 11 and 1. So if you haven't been to it and you love dogs, I highly, highly recommend just stopping by. It does wonders, puts a big smile on your face because the dogs wag their tails and they're happy to see people. A couple other techniques for managing stress without cute little photos. Breathing exercises. We're going to practice one in just a minute. That's called 4-7-8 breathing, and that's one of those immediate stress relief techniques that you can use in the moment, even during an exam if you get stressed out while you take tests, or you can use it while you're studying if you've got a long night of homework and you're going to be in Hale for 6 hours. You can just use this breathing technique for a very short period of time and it'll make a noticeable difference. Another more immediate stress relief technique is using different sensory activities. So this employs any of the senses. This could be playing with Play-Doh or slime, like a lot of people make slime now, something that you can touch that's got some sort of texture and brings your mind into one place as you notice what the textures are, or you do something with your hands, kind of get that extra energy out as your body is preparing to fight or flee. You could, if you have candles or essential oil, something that smells really good, employing the sense of smell might be really good in relieving stress immediately. Listening to music can help. Eating can be a sensory activity, but I would caution with that. If you want to use eating as a sensory activity, you have to eat mindfully. So maybe eating like one Hershey Kiss and seeing if you can make that last 5 minutes, and not ordering a whole pizza and eating that in 5 minutes. So you want to taste the food if you're going to use food as a sensory activity. You can't just inhale it. I talked about touch, smell, sight, looking at pretty things. If you like to go out in nature, go look at some nature. If you like to look at art, go look at some art. Just indulge the senses for a little bit in healthy ways. Don't indulge yourself in an unhealthy way. Journaling can be really helpful, and that one bridges the immediate to the long-term gap, because if you journal about something you're stressed about right now, it has the effect of venting to a friend a lot of the time, so it helps you just process your thoughts, put it out on paper. Maybe you figure out some solutions while you journal. But then in the long run, if you journal over time and you get used to that, it can become a really positive habit and something that you can rely on to help you manage stress in the future. Exercise is the top way to manage stress. It burns off all of the junk that your body produces, all of the chemicals that your body makes to prepare you for that stress response. Exercise helps get rid of that, and it helps keep you regulated with your sleep, or if you've been overeating, it just is the creme de la creme for managing stress. So an exercise doesn't have to be, I went to the gym and I lifted and I ran 5 miles, or I went to cycling class. It can be, I parked at the back of the parking lot when I went to Walmart, or when I came to school, so that you had to walk a little bit farther. Or it can be just sitting up, getting out of your desk, taking a lap around campus or around the building that you're in, just something that gets the body moving. It doesn't have to be extreme exercise to be helpful. And then sleep, which is a lot of college students do not get enough, but it is really important, especially to practice sleep hygiene, which is a term that a lot of people are not always familiar with. And that is going to bed at the same time every night and waking up at the same time every morning, including on weekends. And it is super hard to put into practice. I will say I have tried it myself many times to get into a really healthy and regular sleep hygiene habit. And when I've been committed to it, it's awesome. My body just wakes up at the same time every day on its own. I feel more refreshed in the morning, but it's very easy to get thrown off of, because one night you might be like, well, I have all this homework, so I'll just stay up. Or you might be like, well, it's Friday, I just want to watch one more movie or something. Or you watch a whole series on Netflix. And then all of a sudden it puts you off. One day off will mess you up for the rest of the week. At least that's what I find for myself. So it's hard to get in the habit of, but if you can, it is awesome. And to get an adequate amount of sleep each night. Most college students need 8-ish hours, give or take. And most college students don't seem to get 8 hours, just from what I've heard from my friends. I don't function without at least 7 hours of sleep, so I would take my sleep over anything. So that's just me. So I mentioned the 4-7-8 breathing technique, and I'm just going to have us practice a few rounds of this so you can see for yourself how it feels. Some people don't like the 4-7-8 model, but you can adapt it with different, so the numbers represent seconds, and you could change it. The 4 will inhale for a count of 4, hold the breath for a count of 7, and then exhale for a count of 8. But if that doesn't work for you, some people say they don't feel like they get in enough air over 4 seconds. You could change it, and you could inhale over 6 seconds or 7 seconds. You can modify this to work for you. The main idea is that you're breathing in fully. You're taking full, long, deep, slow breaths. So if you want to close your eyes for this, you can. If you would rather leave your eyes open for this, you can. It just whatever makes you feel more comfortable. So we'll start resting your tongue behind the front of your teeth. That puts your tongue in the position that it would be in when you are in your most relaxed state during sleep. And when we're ready, breathing in through the nose, we'll inhale for a count of 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale through the mouth, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And when you're ready, you can blink the eyes open if they were closed. If you want to go through another round of this in your head, feel free. Does anyone want to share how that felt for them from the audience? Good. Yeah, we got a thumbs up. Awesome. Awesome. Did anyone have any bad reactions to it? Oh, do you mind talking in the mic just so we can have people on Zoom here?
Usually when I try them the first time, they make me more nervous.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second time, then I'm okay.
Yeah, I think sometimes adjusting to that cycle takes a round or two. But do you think you felt more nervous just because, like, when you're holding your breath, you're like, oh, I can't do this anymore? Or is it?
Yeah, or I felt like I needed to breathe out longer than 8, so then having to start over, then I was like,
Oh, yeah, you're not feeling like you're caught up. And see, that's the good thing. If you were to practice this at your house or during an exam and you needed to breathe out for longer than 8, it's not, no one's going to be there shaking a finger at you saying, that's not the rules. You can make it your own. It's definitely able to be modified for each person. And it's awesome because no one can tell that you're doing it. I mean, if you close your eyes, they might be like, is she sleeping during this exam? But otherwise, if you needed to go into the bathroom, like if you felt weird about doing it in front of people and you just were like, hey, I have to go to the bathroom real quick, and then you just went to the bathroom to breathe, it's something that you can just use immediately. And a lot of times it just calms you down. It helps you become more clear-headed, especially when you're really feeling overwhelmed. So it is a great tool to have in your arsenal. And we have a number of resources on campus that are here just for these types of things. So counseling services, we offer therapy. We have psychologists and we have therapists that are all licensed. And you, as a student, get 4 free sessions per academic year as part of your privilege fee. So if you need to see someone, if you think that talking to a professional is going to be the best option for you, which it is for some people, you just walk into counseling services to the front desk, make an appointment, or you can call them and make an appointment, and they'll set you up with someone that you can talk to. After 4 sessions, if you need more than 4 sessions, it is just a low fee. It's sessions 5 through 10 are $15, and after that it's $25. So it's much more affordable than seeing a therapist off campus or through private practice. We also have a stress management online workshop where you'll have a lot of activities that are similar to the ones that we did today. Some of these, I think these both are actually on there, but you'll have more activities than just these 2. And this is a course that it'll show up on your Canvas. You don't get a grade for it. Sometimes that is stressful in and of itself, and you're like, oh no, am I getting graded on my ability to manage stress? You're not. But we don't recommend that if you want to take this online workshop, you shouldn't start it late in the semester. The point of it is that it's supposed to be done over a couple of weeks. So you learn these different techniques, you get a chance to use them, reflect on your experiences. The point is not to just cram it all into one space. So if you are likely to procrastinate it, or if it's the last week of the semester, it's not the best option. And it's free. Yeah, it's free. It doesn't cost anything. So something that you do at your own pace. It's pretty cool. We also have an academic anxiety online workshop, which I believe works the same way. I haven't done that one. I've done the stress management one. I haven't done the academic anxiety one myself, but it works the same way. It's free. Do it at your own pace. We have cat chats for those of you who are here and online. You are aware of that. Tell your friends about cat chats. If we have our schedules here, so if there's anything else coming up in the future that you'd like to learn about, please come join us, whether you're online or in person. And they're accessible on the webpage. We record these cat chats, so if you go to the Counseling Services website and you want to watch one that you missed in the past, you are able to do that, which is pretty cool. Peer Advocates for Mental Wellness and Success, or PAWS is our acronym. We have a student organization on campus, and we try to put on different events that help students' mental well-being or promote healthy lifestyles, promote breaking down mental health stigma. So if you're interested in that, we love having new members in our organization. If you would like, you can become a certified peer educator like yours truly, and that is you go through a class that you can enroll in for 1, 2, or 3 credit hours, and you learn about how to be a peer educator, what that means, and we get trained by K-State Counseling Services psychologists on different mental health topics, including stress management. So that way, I found it really helpful for myself to learn these things, and then also to be able to go teach them has motivated me to like actually implement these stress management techniques, which, because I'd heard about some of these things before, but it wasn't until I took this class that I was really more strict with myself about actually trying to practice these things. As I mentioned, we have Petaway Stress. It happens twice a semester. In the spring, it happens once at mid-semester and once at the end. It'll flip-flop in the fall. It happens once at the beginning and once in the middle, because obviously the very ends of either side of that are cold, and we don't want to be outside and the dogs don't want to be outside. But come join us for Petaway Stress, March 14th this year, or this semester. Come pet dogs. It's a blast. I love it. I love the dogs. And then we have University Life Cafe, which is an online resource. It's got all sorts of resources about stress or academic anxiety or any other problem you might face as a college student. There's probably a resource on there on how to manage it and things that you can do. So if you just check out the University Life Cafe website, there can be a lot of useful resources and tips there. And, oops, I keep pulling out the wrong straw. You got this. That is our final message here of this presentation, is that even though we're all under a lot of stress, you might be feeling overwhelmed, you can do it. And there are the references. Do we have any questions from the audience about anything? All right. Thank you for coming, and thank you for zooming in for those who zoomed in.